Hello, and welcome to my YouTube. It has been a long while since I posted. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. I won't ask you to like it until you've watched the video, if you actually like it. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Potion Permit, and I'm pretty excited. I streamed it for a couple days, and solid game. Without further ado, here he goes. Potion Permit is a new game that's going to be released sometime in 2022. In this game, you play as a chemist from the capital. You arrive in the small town of Moonbury to help the locals with their health problems and various other tasks they'll want your help with around town. Potion Permit is currently in alpha testing, and the developers were hosting an open alpha for people to sign up for and test out their game for about a week. So any bugs or glitches I might mention are likely to be fixed by the time the game actually releases. I decided to stream the content, so I did it over 2 sessions. And I didn't get nearly anywhere towards about a fifth of the total content they said would be in the game once it's fully fleshed out. When you first start the game, you name your character and you get to pick how they look, their gender, their clothing, their hair coloring. There's so many different options, even down to some like fantasy skin tones that I think was really cool. You get to change your outfit color, your cape color. It was a cute process the whole time. I really enjoyed it. Off the bat, I just want to say that the art style and music in this are so nice. I just love the feel of the whole thing. For a game being in alpha testing, it felt incredibly polished. I only ran into a couple of bugs and weird glitches that happened while I was playing, but again, they'll probably be fixed by the time the game actually comes out. And I'll explain these weird bugs and glitches as I go through. Before arriving in Moonbury, you get to name your dog, and I of course immediately named it Frying Pan because why wouldn't I name him Frying Pan, and I would absolutely die for Frying Pan. After you finally arrive in Moonbury, you meet the mayor, who's aptly named Meyer. I honestly thought this was a typo at first, but nope, that's just his name. The mayor takes you to the local tavern where you are promptly roasted by the entire town. I'm not kidding, they're brutally honest, and the whole town makes it very apparent that you're not really welcome in Moonbury. Honestly though, I really kind of like this uphill battle they create for you in the beginning. In games that are kind of like this, like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, most of the town kind of just likes you, but they really are not a huge fan of people from the capital. They don't seem to trust them at all. Now that everyone has sufficiently burnt you to a crisp, the mayor shows you to your home, which is huge looking, by the way. It was apparently owned by the previous chemist of the town. Once you wake up the next morning, it's almost time that you get to free roam in the city. But first, you have to meet the mayor's assistant, Xiao. I think it's pronounced Xiao. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. You meet Xiao, and then you're able to roam around the town, but it suggests you make your way to the meadow. In the meadow, you'll find various plants that can be used in your potions. Also, you'll find monsters like slimes, bears, and whatever these things were called. They'll all potentially drop items that can be used in potions as well. Trees and stones can be farmed for future upgrades to like your house or your cauldron that we'll get into later. Something that I like about this area is it's the only place that you can use your tools. When you're in town, it'll actually X out your tools. You can change between them, but you can't actually use them in town. And I kind of like that. It always felt weird in some of these games where you could be in the middle of town and just like sickle somebody. It felt a little wrong. But in this game, so far, as I've seen, you can only use it in the meadow area, and I think that that's a really interesting touch. It was about this time that I noticed there was a little trust thumb in the top left of my screen. I was super afraid that I had hit Frying Pan with my hammer and he no longer trusted me, but I quickly figured out that this is probably Moonbury's trust in me as a whole. Also, when this happened was when I noticed my first bug, and it would let me call Frying Pan over to me, and act like I was able to pet him, like it pulled up the window for it, but the window didn't actually appear and I couldn't actually pet him. I could only leave the window. It was super odd, and it took me a minute to figure it out at first, but I was really afraid that Frying Pan didn't love me anymore. After about a day or two of foraging, Zhao will actually have Runeheart, the local blacksmith, come and repair your cauldron so you can start making potions. And once you're able to do this, you can use the materials that you foraged for in this sort of like Tetris tangrams type puzzle to actually brew your potions. And I thought that this was a really fun and creative way to do it, because the only limits that it puts on you is the number of ingredients that you can use, and those will even increase once you improve your cauldron. And I just think that that's really neat, that you're not restricted to specific ingredients that make up specific potions. It's kind of nice that it's just this. You have to make this shape, and the different ingredients have different shapes. It's a really fun and interesting way to do that. After another few days of foraging and getting roasted by the locals, the mayor will bring his daughter Rue into your clinic so that you can heal her. You're able to help her with her current symptoms, but ultimately her disease is still unknown. At this time, she's accompanied by her mother and the local witch doctor, Matthew? I don't know. I'm just going to say Mateo. Mateo's not happy that you're here and seems to be your antagonist, as he's currently running all of the health practices for the town. And we learned later, actually, by the time you get your first, like, air quote, real patient, that if you don't heal them fast enough, they'll actually be sent to Mateo for his form of healing. When you're diagnosing patients, they tell you like where they're hurting or where it's not feeling good, and you actually scan their body in that area, and then it pops up with a little mini game that I was not anticipating, and it was really fun. You press different buttons on your keyboard, or I'm assuming your controller on the consoles, and it was just, I was not expecting it, and it was really fun. It gave it sort of like a sense of you're actually doing something and not just scanning over to the arm and it telling you what's wrong with the person. Once you've diagnosed the issue, you can then brew the potion that's required to heal them. I did learn while treating the mayor's wife that if you have the potion in your backpack, it just automatically applies it. It threw me for a loop at the first time, but it got the little check mark like it healed her, and I was like, I guess I did it. When you complete the healings for the townsfolk, they'll give you what are called moon cloves. And these are a standard gift to show friendship, essentially. These can be given to different townfolk to improve your friendship level with them. Speaking of Moonbury's residents, as much as they roasted me, I really did enjoy the full cast of characters. There seemed to be a vast variety of them. If I had to pick 3 top favorites so far, it would be Opalheart, her daughter Runeheart, and Otmar. Opalheart and Runeheart are the local blacksmiths, and I've got to say, I love it when games swap up the, typical gender roles for games. Plus, Runeheart seems to, I don't know, pretty cool. Maybe it's future romance, I don't know. Otmar is just this big, adorable, one-legged pirate who speaks in third person. The game literally refers to him as a dullard, but I love him. He's all tattooed up and nice to me off the bat. I don't know, maybe a future romance, I don't know. Something else small that I want to point out is that when you're walking around town, you can actually see people having conversations with each other as they're, interacting, playing cards, or just sitting on a bench. And I think that that's really unique for this game. I haven't seen it in any others, and I think that that's a really fun, cool aspect that kind of just like builds the world. You can kind of see who sits and who talks with who. It's just a really interesting thing. Eventually, you're tasked with exploring further into the meadow, but first you have to clear the way of these giant rocks. You do a little side quest with Otmar to get this net. You can tend to various patients that show up to your clinic over the course of a few days, and that'll ultimately get you the materials and the finances that you need to actually move the rock. Once you move these rocks, it opens up into a much larger portion of the meadow, and the game has you tasked with going to each of the different corners of it. Along the way, you find new monsters like this owl, lion, ram, bear thing, armadillos, and giant crickets, and of course more bears. This was another thing that I hope they tweak when they finish the game. It'll force you into a cutscene, but it seems like the enemies can still attack you during these times. I didn't die from this, but it was enough to make me worry about it every time I had a cutscene to deal with. Once you find all the corners of the meadow, your next task is to create a special potion to help Rue, the mayor's daughter, with her unknown disease that you haven't been able to cure yet. Once my character finally got back home, I created that potion because it is just like the puzzle. You don't have to have anything specific for it. And that's when I went to bed in the game. But it was also at this point that I decided to call it a night for my stream, only to discover that the alpha closed that Friday, August 13th. I didn't get to see how the potion affected Rue, but if I'm being honest, that feels like a really good cliffhanger that I just kind of accidentally stumbled into. Overall, I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed Potion Permit. I was genuinely disappointed when I found out that I couldn't keep playing it. It's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, of these type of, you know, town sim games where you build your relationships with the town members. Should you play Potion Permit? Absolutely yes. It is a 5 out of 5 game for me. Super cozy, the music is great, the characters are really enjoyable, the art is just so pretty. Honestly, I couldn't find anything to really dislike it. But that is my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Goodbye.